Hey guys, Dora here, and today I'll be talking about the books I read because of Booktube. Let me just start off by saying that most of these books I read because of Christine from Pulling Bananas Books. She was the only booktuber I watched back then, and I didn't know there were more booktubers until she started doing collab videos with other booktubers. To narrow the list down, I decided not to include books that I have already unhauled. So without further ado, let's just get started. The first book I read because of Booktube was the Divergent trilogy. I believe it was 2013 or 2014 when I saw Christine raving about it. Her book talks for first books, she tries to summarize what the book is about, and at the time I thought it was a really interesting concept. I liked it. The first book is amazing, but the second and third books were complete downers. The first book really gets you thinking that it's going to be an amazing series, but it's not. Let's be honest, it's not an amazing series. It's an amazing first book in a series. Insurgent and Allegiant, they both had irrelevant things going on, and the book could have been shorter than what it really was. And I understand why they decided not continue with Allegiant Part 2. The second trilogy I decided to read because of Booktube was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I remember when this was getting a lot of hype. I remember watching Christine's video of the cast for The Hunger Games, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she read The Hunger Games, I have to read it too. So I decided to pick up the trilogy. I read them, and then I went to see the first movie, and then everything else went uphill or downhill, whichever way you want to see it. And my favorite book of the trilogy was Mockingjay. I know a lot of people say that Catching Fire was the best movie and the best book, but for me, my ultimate favorite one is Mockingjay and Mockingjay Part 2. This was a really great trilogy, and I'm glad I read it because of Booktube, because I absolutely love it. I adored it. Maybe I should rename this book to Books I Read Because of Christine. That would be more accurate. And the next trilogy I read because of Booktube was The Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken. Now this book is dystopian. Mostly all of these books are dystopian, except for one, I think, or two. This book is about a disease that killed off all the kids except for some of them. And those who survived the disease find out that they have powers, and they are all divided into different colors. We have the blues, we have the oranges, we have the reds, and I think we have yellows and greens. Did I already said green? And all the kids who survived the disease and have these abilities are taken to concentration camps. So we follow Ruby, our main character, who escapes the concentration camp. Then we start to figure out who she really is and that she lied about what kind of powers she has. So it was a really interesting book. I really loved it. It was really funny at the time that I read it. I still laugh about it sometimes. I don't know whether I should reread it anytime soon. Maybe I should. Who knows? We might get the news that's being revived, like every other dystopian trilogy that is now being revived, like The Shadow of Me, The Fifth Wave. Like, what is going on? And naturally, the next trilogy that is now not a trilogy but is becoming a series that I read because of Booktube is Shadow Me by Tahereh Mafi. And it has a little sticky here because it has one of my favorite quotes that I've been thinking about getting a tattoo, but I don't know if I should, because getting a tattoo is very unnerving. I mean, it's gonna be on your skin forever, so I'm really thinking about it really hard. And the quote is, "I spent my life folded between the pages of books." So this, once again, is in a dystopian world where we follow our main character, whose name I've forgotten because I read it so long ago, Juliet, and she is imprisoned because she has magical powers as well, and she has the power to kill people with touch, which it says it right here. Actually, it says my touch is lethal, and then my touch is power. So this is the one thing I loved about this book, like the writing. This is what I liked about the writing of this novel, is that the author tends to cross out thoughts that Juliet has, but then she crosses it out and then changes to something more positive. And that's basically how The Princess Saves Herself, the poetry book that I raved about, that I read last year, is written as well, and I absolutely loved it. This is the original cover. They did a cover change after the first book, and I do agree with the cover change though. Now this next series was not recommended to me by Christine, but I did read because another booktuber called Sasha Ellsberg from A Book Utopia, and the book I'm talking about is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And the way the society works is we have silver bloods Bloods and then we have Red Bloods. And the Silver Bloods are people who are like high up in society, and the Red Bloods are like slaves slash the lower class of the society. And Silver Bloods tend to have magical abilities. That's why they're considered higher up. We follow a red character, Mare, who unbeknownst to her has powers. What happens is that she shows her abilities in public, and now she's thrown into the world of Silver Bloods, where she has to pretend that she's a Silver Blood that's been raised as a Red Blood. And I am planning on rereading them soon, mostly because the last book comes out in May, and I have not read King's Cage, which is the third book in the series, and I'm just waiting for it to get closer to May, that way I can read them. But yeah, it's a really great book. I love the concept of all of this red blood, silver blood that's going on, so I can't wait for the last book to come out. This next book is so widely popular in the Booktube community that after seeing Emma, Christine, Sasha, and Kat from Cattytastic talk about them, I'm like, they're probably a good series. And the series I'm talking about is the Shadowhunter Chronicles by Cassandra Clare. Emma from Emma Books is doing a year-long read-along for the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and I am participating. I think for my January wrap-up, I said that I was doing it with her. I apologize if it seems like I'm saying I was a moderator or something. It's just English is my second language and sometimes my words get mixed up. So I am not one of the moderators or anything. I'm just participating in the read-along. But yeah, I am currently reading City of Ashes, the second book, and the first time I read these books, I read The Mortal Instruments up until City of Lost Souls, and then I started The Infernal Devices, and then I read City of Heavenly Fire. And now this time I'll be reading them in publication order. There are just so many ways to read these books, and Emma from Emma Books also has a video explaining all the different ways to read these novels, and I'll leave her link down in the description box below. The last book I read because of Booktube is When Dimple Met Rishi by Zendaya Menon. This was a really great book, really diverse. Our main characters are Dimple and Rishi. Dimple already knows what she wants to do when she gets out of high school, but her mom has different plans. Her mom wants her to find the perfect Indian husband. As a result, they send her to San Francisco to a con convention that she's been dying to go, just so she could meet a suitor that her parents had picked out for her. And I think it was a really cool concept, and it really delved into the Indian culture. The one things I did not like were inconsistencies in characters. Personality is just Dimple was more self-centered and selfish and thought only about herself and her needs, and she blamed everybody else for her failures. So that's the one thing I did not like about this book. Everybody was raving about it, about how good it was, and it was a great book. It has great diversity in it. It's just my issue was with character development. So yeah, those are all the books slash series I read because of Booktube. Let me know down in the comments below which books you read because of Booktube, and did you end up liking them. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of my face, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!